Hello, and welcome to Meet the Author, a show where we explore the world through the imagination of talented writers. On this show, we will talk with authors from Laurel, Prince George's County, the DMV, and beyond. Today, our guest author is Mrs. Shannon Beasley Taitt. She is the founder and CEO of Deep Roots Consulting, which provides life coaching and consulting services. After writing her book, Get Your Head in the Game, Life Lessons Learned from My Mother Through the Game of Basketball, Mrs. Beasley Taitt established the May Be Foundation to provide education assistance and emotional support for post-secondary study to African American students ages 16 through 24 who have lost a parent or guardian. We have a lot to discuss with Mrs. Beasley Taitt, so let's get started. Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So you did send me a bio,
Yes.
and we just like to start at the beginning. We'll start with your education. Just give us some information about your education.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Massachusetts and wanted to go to a college that was in the South where it was nice and warm, so I went to both undergrad and graduate school at North Carolina State University. And in undergraduate school, I majored in political science, which at first I did because I wanted to be Ted Kennedy's replacement as U.S. Senator from the state of Massachusetts. But from there, I decided that political science by itself was not enough. I wanted to be able to give back to society. I wanted to be able to make a difference with laws and with policies out there. So I added criminal justice to the portfolio for me and got a degree in both that and a minor in criminal justice and sociology. And I had a chance to work in prisons and work around people that needed my assistance. And so I stayed for graduate school at North Carolina State University as well and majored in public administration with an administration of justice. So I had an opportunity to work with the Governor's Crime Commission down there, again work with the Department of Correction, and ended up here in Maryland working with the Department of Justice for a while. So that is my education background and always a continuing learner, lifelong learner.
Good. It's a very extensive background, too.
Thank you.
So do you feel, as the founder of Deep Roots Consulting, that your education and experience help you prepare for your business?
I do. I believe that my education was a great foundation for me to start the business. I always was around educators, and I said that I never wanted to go into education and be a teacher like my mother and other aunts that were in my family, but I found myself really drawn to training and being able to coach people in a different way. So I also have my certification in life coaching, and that's really what set the foundation for me to start the business. I was able to work with a lot of clients that needed my assistance around financial support, around trying to figure out what they wanted to do with their careers, also other areas of life where they needed some personal growth and development.
Okay. So you mentioned the different education and services that Deep Roots Consulting provides. Share with us some of the things that your consulting company does.
Yeah, so we definitely work with individuals and organizations, and our motto is to dig, cultivate, and grow. We want to help individuals get to the root of any issues that they have, hence Deep Roots Consulting, and to cultivate what's going on in your life, what's going on that's making it difficult for you to move forward, whether it's in a relationship situation, whether it's that new job that you want to try but you're scared to leave your old one, or whether it's in any other facet of life. So I've had a lot of individual clients over the last few years that I've been able to help through that process of growth. And then I also work with faith-based organizations. Okay. I'm a mental health first aid certified trainer as well. And with all that's going on in the world with serious mental illness and people that are going around shooting individuals in mass in every location across the country, I've been able to work with an area where in the African American community, we tend to go to first for counseling, and that's our faith-based institutions. Right. But no one is really spending much time focusing on what pastors need as far as their self-care and looking at their mental health. So I've been able to put together some trainings with them and work with those organizations to help them improve and thrive as well. And then the last area that I really get excited about, again, because my passion is around helping less fortunate people, has been with Montgomery County Public Schools, and I work with trying to close the academic achievement gap between white and Asian students and Black and Latino students. So we do this with a program called Study Circles, and I'm a facilitator with them through my company to be able to work with teachers, students, administrators, parents to help figure out ways that we can control this achievement gap issue.
That's exciting and very pertinent. Like you said, a lot of different issues that
Yes.
you touch on we're dealing with right now, and we definitely need that assistance.
And I enjoy it, I do.
Yeah, that's very good. So tell us how we can get in touch with you through your Deep Roots consulting firm.
Well,
Your
yes,
contact information.
you can go to my website to see all of the information on the detailed services that I provide at www.deeproots.consulting. It's not a .com, so again,
Okay.
www.deeproots.consulting. Or you could call me at 202-643-7335. That's probably the easiest way these days to get in touch with people.
Okay, and we
Yes.
hope you'll get more clients through this because
I
it's
hope
definitely a
so.
much needed service.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Okay, so just moving on a little bit further in your bio, you mentioned that you lost both your parents by the age of 40.
Yes.
And so your mom and the lessons that she taught you are the basis behind your book and your
Yes.
foundation.
Yes.
So we want to continue her legacy because that's what you mentioned in your book.
Yes.
So let's start with telling us a little bit about your mom.
Well, to describe my mother, I go through a quote that Maya Angelou once said. When describing my mother, it is like writing about a hurricane in its perfect power. And that really is a description of my mother. My mother was 5'10", very statuesque woman, had a presence about her when she walked into the room. She was an education and health teacher for about 36 years, both in New York and also in Massachusetts. And so for her, being a coach was something that came naturally to her. So all my life, I had an opportunity to hear what Coach Mabel Beasley had to say about everything.
Right.
And so when I found out that she had cancer, it was an opportunity for me to really focus on what are some of the greatest lessons that I really learned from her, and how could I share those lessons with other people that are grieving a loss of someone very significant like that. And my mother had started writing a book back in the early 2000s, but then my father got sick in 2006 and she lost her zest for writing. Okay. She didn't really find the time because she was doing so much caretaking for him. And then after he passed away in 2007 from cancer, she really didn't want to write anymore. No. So I would go visit her and try to sit with her and say, you have this manuscript here, but I don't really see what you're doing with it. Are you still writing? And she was like, no, I'll just write tomorrow. I don't really feel like writing. And so I tried to get her to continue to write, but she didn't. And then when I found out that she had cancer, there was an urgency that she felt to want to start writing again, but it was too late because by the time we found out that she had cancer on her brain, breast, lung, liver, tailbone, kidney, and spine, she really only lasted about 6 months. But in her strong nature, she went out the way that she would want to go out, and that is not going through chemotherapy, really living each day to its fullest. When I had to move her here from Massachusetts, all she wanted to do was go to Delta Bingo and find some way to bowl. And when she wasn't strong enough to bowl physically anymore, which were her activities that she loved, she found the Wii. And in the home where she lived, she got to bowl on the Wii and put a group of people together that she felt like could really create a little network of people that she's like, we don't have to be sick and shut in and lie in the bed. Let's get a group of us together and we can have a bowling night right here in the assisted living facility. So that was her zest for life, and that's how she was through everything. And it wasn't until she passed away that I really had an opportunity to really get to know who she was to so many people. My mother was the only African-American teacher in her school system from kindergarten through 12th grade in Massachusetts. And so she really was an alien or a foreigner to many of those students. And she started teaching in the late 60s. So it was already such a civil rights upheaval and turmoil. And from her moving from the segregated South to all-white Massachusetts, it was definitely a journey. So I had to hear from a lot of her students at the wake that they felt my mother changed their lives, really. That some of them thought about committing suicide, but if it wasn't for my mother, that they would have. One student told me that she was a lesbian and knew that she was, but was too scared to come out to her parents, but really admired the boldness and the courageousness that my mom displayed, not being able to take off her blackness and have to walk around just being who she was. And it gave her the courage to finally come out to her parents after high school. My mom's students would tell me that she stopped them from being bullied or helped them understand and appreciate people of color when they went to college and had to have different roommates. And so I really got a different look of my mother when she passed away.
Wow. That's a reason to write a book, right?
Definitely
lessons and
was.
things that you've learned about her.
Absolutely.
So let's go into that. It's a good transition. So during your time of loss, you decided to write your book.
Yes.
And how did writing the book help you deal with it? I know you learned a lot about her, but you were still grieving. You know, you lost your mother. How did writing the book help you deal with that?
Well, I was really toying for about a year or so with how I wanted to write. Was I going to finish my mother's book? Because she left a pretty sizable manuscript over her life.
Okay.
And I was thinking about, well, maybe I should just finish what she was writing and publish that and get that out to at least her students back in Massachusetts. But then I felt something bigger than that. And I felt like my mother would want me to do something bigger than that. So instead, I was taking those lessons as I was thinking about how sad I was and dealing with the bouts of depression that I had and the loss that I had in that area and other areas of my life. And I wanted to pour all of that out onto the pages and really leave a legacy, because my children were smaller when she passed away and they didn't get to know her as a brilliant basketball player and teacher and grandmother and mother that she was. So I wanted to be able to write that way. I also wanted to leave plays, not only for myself and my children, but for other people that you could take from the game of basketball and also apply to life.
Right.
And I thought that that would be helpful. And I think that it really helped me to shape not only what I was going to do with the book, but also what I was doing with the business. And that was helping people set goals, to take risks, to overcome adversity, and also to celebrate victories. So I felt that that's what game of basketball is all about, and this is an opportunity for me to share that with people.
Very nice. I guess it helped you a lot through the process.
Absolutely.
I guess cleansing, if you will.
It absolutely was a cleansing.
It
was
imagine.
great. Yes.
And then talking about the layout of the book, like I mentioned, you know, I'm a publisher at heart, so I take a look at all the little intricacies.
Yes.
And so the layout of your book was great. I took a look at the table of contents, and I saw where the chapters were laid out and the quarters were laid out, and it progressed like a game of basketball.
Yes.
So it starts with quarters 1 and 2. You take a halftime, and then you do quarters 3 and 4. And then you start with the fundamentals of the game, and then you go all through like crunch time, and then you even have a end of regulation bonus lesson.
Yes.
So I just thought that was absolutely great.
Thank you.
So just thinking about that, because my mind works like that, how did you decide upon that structure? Like, did you have the lessons first and then plug them in, or did you just use basketball and then plug in the lessons that you have? Kind of explain that to us a little bit.
I had the lessons first,
Okay.
and that is probably what took me so long to write the book, because I had so many lessons that I didn't know how to necessarily condense them. And so what I did was then start to look at the game of basketball in that quarter setup and figure out which chapters would fit where, which lessons and plays did I want people to know about, and to tell my mother's story at the same time. So I felt like it was a dual purpose and have some fun. Whether you've played basketball or not, you could really understand what it's like to be in the first quarter of your life, what it's like to be at halftime, or as we call it, middle age, and figure out how to sit back, get in that locker room, and figure out what's the next half of your game going to look like.
Right.
And so I wanted to take what that looked like for my mother, what that looked like for myself and some of my clients, and really apply that throughout the book. So it's like chicken egg, but that's kind of how it came about.
But it's great, like I said, because I don't play basketball, so I understood it, though. It made perfect sense.
I'm glad.
So that worked. How long did it take you to do that?
Ooh, it took me probably about a year to get that the way that I really wanted. I was spending a lot of time, because when you're raised by a coach mother, everything has to be perfect. So I didn't feel that it was perfect until I found a publisher that really helped me. And it was like my mother sent him to me. He was a former basketball player, played in college himself, and really helped me take the outline and take these pieces that I had all over the place and put them in the order that I wanted them to be. And I felt that that really narrowed my process, shortened my process, and helped take this pressure of perfection off the table. Okay,
sounds good. And talking about the lessons again, although they are related to basketball, like I mentioned, anybody can relate to those, because I don't play, but I can definitely relate. So who would you say your target audience would be?
I would say really the target audience could be anyone, but I really focus my work in life coaching, especially with women, and I focus mostly on women who are in that kind of halftime phase of their lives. Their children may be growing up, They may be going through a divorce. They don't like their jobs anymore. And really taking that look and seeing, how can I change this game up? Am I really playing full on in my life?
Right.
Am I letting things stop me that shouldn't stop me? I have also worked with a lot of young kids as well, because it works well for students too. So I would say those are probably my two primary audiences.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know this may be a little hard, but if you had to choose, like, do you have a favorite lesson or a most significant lesson?
Oh boy, I probably have like three
Right.
really favorite
Okay,
lessons.
you can share all of them if you like.
But I know one of them would be the second lesson, and that's called Lace Up. Be a player and not a spectator.
Okay.
And I think that that one is really key and was fun for me to develop, because I had an opportunity to think about, most of the time when you're sitting in the stands, and people with children can definitely identify this, we are always the referees of the games. We are always sitting in the stands or at home watching our televisions, whether there's NBA playing or if it's a football game
Right.
playing. We can tell them exactly where they need to go on the court. We can tell them exactly where they need to go on the field, and we haven't laced up and done anything in our lives that would put ourselves on the court. So for me, that lesson really focused on the fact that we can't listen to the noise, the critiques, the criticism, the heckling
Right.
that are coming from the people in the stands. And that could be the people in your family, the people in your faith community, people in your relationships that you see on a day-to-day basis. But this was an opportunity for me to share that you are the one on the court and play your game. That's my favorite one, I would
I think
say.
I wrote that in the margins too. Play your game.
Yes,
That's a
play your
good
game.
lesson.
I think the other lesson that I want to bring up, just because it reminds me so much of my mother,
Okay.
is lesson 13. And that one is about being flexible.
Okay.
And the actual subtitle of that chapter is, If You Can't Bend, I Can't Use You. And the reason that one was significant and kind of personal for me is, again, I told you my mother was a coach. I played basketball even to the club level in college, but my favorite sport was softball. And so I was trying out for a softball team, and my mother was at the tryout, sitting out in the car. She was not my coach. We didn't go to the same school or work at the same school. And so she was sitting there, and I'm a first baseman, doing really great, fielding every single ball that's coming my way, even stuff that I'm stretching for. I was so excited about how I was doing in that particular tryout. So I asked my mother after the game, how do you think I did? And she was like, well, you did okay. I don't know if I'd have you on my team.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, really? I only missed a couple. I don't understand. And she was saying, well, you can't bend. And if you can't bend, I can't use you.
Oh, wow.
And so for me, it really carried forward to the lesson in the book about how inflexible most of us are. We're very narrow in our thoughts. We're very narrow in how we approach life. And a lot of us are too scared to move out of that narrow-mindedness that we have to be able to bend in relationships, to be able to bend on the job. All of those things are really key. So you have to be able to do that, or someone's not going to be able to use you on their team.
Absolutely. You had one more, you said 3. What is that?
I would say the Rebound
Okay.
chapter, towards the end of the book, chapter 19. And that really is that we fall down, but we have to get up. And with the rebound, it's really easy to see in the game of basketball who's getting that ball, who's going up, even after a missed shot. The only shots that don't really matter are the ones that we don't take. So we've got to take a shot, and we've got to be able to grab that rebound and be able to assess the game. How well are we doing?
Right.
What do we need to do differently? Why didn't that ball go in? And we have to do the same thing in life. If you went for something and it didn't quite work out the way that you wanted it to work out, how do you need to change your game to be able to bounce back? Again, there are a lot of people that are suffering from depression, and I think for them, that rebound aspect is so important.
Right.
What type of help and resources are you going to? Whether you come to me as a life coach and I help you through a process, or whether you're beyond that and need counseling and some serious work to go back and see where you have to take a look at some of that healing that you need to do in order to move forward in your life. So I think that that's another chapter that's really key.
And those were 3 great ones. So look, that
Thank
was just
you.
3. You
Yes,
have 22
that's-
lessons in the
that's
book. So it's,
right.
like I said, it's a big, robust book. It's very good, full of good advice. So
Oh,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you for sharing those few. Now, do you have plans on writing any other books?
I am really thinking about it.
Okay.
And one, I'll even tell you a possible title because I don't even know if this will be it, but it's definitely the theme. And that is that God is a comedian.
Okay.
And I
He
do
is.
believe he is a comedian. For
I do
things
too.
that I don't think will ever work out in my natural mind, with my natural eye, he finds a way to do it every single time. Or that there's things that you don't think are going to go your way, and there's a way that's made for you without even much effort. And I think if we really look at him as somebody who's sitting there going, this woman actually thinks she's in control of something, and she's
Right.
not. I'm going to let her think that for a minute, but then I'm going to do what I'm here to do in her life. And I think if we just surrender to that, then we'll have a better understanding. So that's definitely one.
We'll definitely have to talk about that
Oh,
more, 'cause
yes.
I feel the same way.
Yes, so that would be fun. And then I'm thinking about a fiction book. I don't know,
Okay.
but it would seem that there's enough in my own life lessons that I think would be fun to share in a fiction sort of way. So I've got to protect the innocent, change the
right.
names up a little bit, but I think that would be great as well.
Sounds fabulous. We look forward to more stuff. Like I said, the way this one was done was great.
Thank you.
Your perspective is awesome. So just let us know if
I
you
will
have
definitely
any other
do
books
that.
coming. Okay. Now talk a little bit about the foundation. So after writing the book, to continue your mom's legacy, you started a foundation. It's called the May Be Foundation,
Yes.
named after your mom.
Yes.
So tell us how that came about.
Well, the Maybe Foundation really came to me on an airplane. I travel a lot for work, and I was on the plane and felt like my mother spoke to me on a cloud one
Okay.
day, seriously. And she was telling me to be able to think about how to help young people who've lost a parent. I was really feeling down that particular day, feeling like an orphan at over 40 years old. And I was like, wow, I can't imagine what it would be like for someone who's 15 or 12 to be without their parents. Both of my parents got to be here for all of the major significant things that happened in my life, but there are a lot of young people who don't have that same opportunity. So I wanted to create this organization so that we can cultivate help, hope, and healing. And we want to provide financial and emotional resources to African American students between the ages of 16 and 24 so that we can find ways to make sure that they can continue their education. Again, going back to my mother's story, my mother lost her father her sophomore year in college, and she wanted to quit school, but she had to keep pushing. She didn't have the support. She didn't have so many educated people around her and have that community to help her, but she found something within herself to keep herself going. And we want to, in our foundation, be able to do that for other young people.
Okay, sounds great. Now, the foundation provides educational assistance and emotional support.
Yes.
Can you tell us some of the services, or how do you do that for the
Yes.
students?
This is our first year with the foundation. We started back in the fall of last year, and we've gotten a lot of support. I have a great board of people who all somehow are connected to the mission, either lost parents themselves at a young age, or are orphans, feeling like they're adult orphans at this point in time who have lost parents. And so we've been able to provide scholarships, our first 3 scholarships this year, to students in Howard County at both Reservoir High School and Oakland Mills High School. And we're able to really help to garner some ambassadors for us to come back and work with what we hope to build in the next year, which is our mentoring and education assistance program, to be able to help students put together resumes, to help them with their writing for their essays for their college admission, to be able to help them find other financial aid that they need for college, because even with the scholarships that we have, we know as much as college costs today that that's not going to be enough. So that is really our hope, to really grow some volunteers and to be able to support students no matter what services they may need. And one thing that we're trying to do before the end of this summer and the beginning of the next college year is work with Bowie State University to provide some care packages, so the Maybe Care packages. Maybe if someone cared, they would give me a little something to get through this next few months. Even if students have a little bit of money, they definitely don't have deodorant and laundry detergent and other things that they need. If they have their books covered, that's wonderful. But it's the other little details to show someone back at home really cares. And so we're trying to put together 100 care packages by the end of this summer before the school year starts. 50 young ladies and 50 young men to be able to show that the community is around them and supports them.
Sounds good. And on that note, give contact information so we can reach out to people and they can help.
Yes, if you are interested in volunteering with the Maybe Foundation or you want to provide a donation, please go to www.maybe, and that's MAYB, foundation.org.
Okay, thank you. We hope, again, that will pick up and it will take off so that we can help
Great.
those students.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've talked about your education background. We've talked about your consulting business.
Yes.
We talked about your mom and the inspiration around your book and the foundation. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us about endeavors that are going on in your business? Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, really, I am trying to do a little more work with the faith-based community, bringing together different churches in the Baltimore area to find ways to help pastors that are contemplating suicide.
Wow.
That's been something that I didn't realize was a
Right.
big issue. But who helps the healer? And that's been the problem that I'm finding out with a lot of pastors, that they don't have supports for themselves. They pour into so many people, and they spend so much time visiting people, preparing lessons,
Right.
overseeing the administration of their churches, that they are burned out. And so I'm working on a campaign with them this summer to bring other people together across different faith-based communities in Baltimore so that we can have a discussion and provide a training and some other resources for them so that they can find healing. So that's another project that I'm working on.
Sounds good. Very resourceful, very much needed information, the
Yes.
things that you're providing as far as counseling and pastor support. So we really hope that everything takes off for you. If you need any assistance, feel free to call us. We
Great.
hope that this gets out to the community so that they know what's going on.
Well, I will definitely keep you informed. I would love to get the community as involved as possible, especially packing these care
Right.
packages for the students. So I
Okay.
will give you as many details as I have on that as they unfold.
Sounds good. Now, for your book and your personal information, did you want to share that at this time so someone can get your book?
Sure. Again, I would love for people to purchase the book, Get Your Head in the Game, Life Lessons Learned from My Mother Through the Game of Basketball. And you can get that online, and I will provide you a signed copy at www.deeproots.consulting. Or if you want to call me, if you need services, you want life coaching, I definitely am taking new clients at this time. I can be reached at 202-643-7335.
Well, thank you. You've been a breath of information. We learned a lot about what's going on in the area and things that we still need to work on, as a
Yes,
community.
absolutely.
So we look forward, like I said, to working with you. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you again for having me.
All right. We'll be right back. Get Your Head in the Game. Life Lessons Learned from My Mother Through the Game of Basketball is a robust read full of tips and advice for not just basketball players, but anyone who needs a playbook for this game called life. Miss Beasley Taitt takes you briefly on her personal journey, but it's really one that we can all relate to in some form or fashion. With 22 lessons, such as commitment is key and set boundaries, she intertwines basketball lessons with real-life scenarios to give you the tools you need to design your own playbook for life. So if you're feeling down and need a bit of encouragement, just need a nudge to keep you going, or just want some sound advice, pick up the book and do what it says. Get your head in the game. I would like to thank Ms. Beasley Taitt for joining me today and reminding us to take an active role in our lives, whether through counseling or just having a playbook, basic tools we need to be better and do better in this game of life. If you are an author and would like to be featured on our program, you can send an email to cmjohnson@laurel.md.us or call 301-725-5300, extension 2110. We would love to have you on the show. I'm Christine Johnson reminding you, open a book and let it take you on your next adventure.